Okay, guys, let's begin. Michelle, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, we spoke last time about cliches, and I say we spoke like I'm the oracle here, but you spoke last time about getting behind cliches, and you talked about acceptance, as you gave acceptance as an example. And I wondered, we talked a bit about the phrase "without judgment," and I wondered if you could talk a little bit about kind of explaining that concept to people in a way that gets behind the cliche and helps people to understand, well, actually, we're kind of judging all the time, but what is meant by that without judgment.
Okay, yeah. So when we say practicing without judgment, what do we mean by it? Yeah, getting behind the cliche.
Yes. Yeah.
Non-judgmental. That's the term, isn't it? Non-judgmental.
Yes.
Tend to use that a lot. For me, I tend not to use the term much. But if I do use it, and if anybody uses it in the teacher training, the way we explain it is that what non-judgment means is that it's not that we don't judge, because judgments happen. You can't help it, can you? We just judge. I don't like this. It doesn't even have to be a thought. It can just be an attitude that we just don't like something. Okay? So what non-judgmental really means is just holding that judgment in awareness. We acknowledge the judgment. We're aware of this judgment. It may be a thought, or it may be an attitude, it may be a body thing, like just wanting to. And so really it's acknowledgement and just, well, there's judging going on. I don't like this. There's a feeling of not wanting this, a sense of wanting to push this away. So rather than using the word non or don't, I very rarely use the word don't. It's become aware of. It's a real sort of it gets you real out of a lot of sticky situations. Become aware of. And then you're not telling people what to do or what not to do, what to think or what to feel, what not to feel. Because people are going to like some stuff and not like others. The problem isn't in the judging thought or the judging attitude that pops up. It's the indulgence. That's where the problem is. Does that help, Michelle?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, it does. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. I have another good question from somebody, which I'll go into. Is there anything else on that point or anything else that came up from last week? Angela? Can't hear you. Make sure you have your mic turned on, obviously. You'll have to chat. So while Angela's typing, I think it's 60 words a minute she can do. I just want to plug the 3 pillars of mindfulness teaching. Or let's just the three pillars of mindfulness. What you're conveying to what you're suggesting, encouraging your students to do. I mean, it's curiosity. That's what we want. Curiosity. We want them to be honest with themselves. But there's a third that might surprise you to some degree, and that's we need willingness. It's not effort, it's a willingness to actually do the practice or to meet, whatever's happening, the pleasant and the unpleasant. All the time, really, that's what I'm getting my students to do, is to work with themselves with curiosity, honesty, and a willingness to do the whole thing. They sort of work together. Okay, I want to come on to the three pillars of mindfulness teaching, just briefly, because I think they're, well, I like them, but I want to do this question from Angela. When you say indulgence, we are getting something out of it. When you say indulgence, we are getting something out of it. What are we getting out of it? When we're indulging in judgment, we are getting into the story. It's like having a nice cream cake there. We can just observe it, or we can really indulge and start to. That's indulging. So we're indulging in the judgment. Oh yeah. Oh, and then we're aware. Then it becomes concretized. See, if something's just a thought or just a sensation, which is the initial arising, a thought or a sensation, which is the initial arising. If we can observe it then and just leave it alone, it hasn't got much power. But what we do is we normally indulge, and so we start to think about it. We indulge ourselves, which makes it more real in a sense. From just an arising, it's now got a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and becomes much more difficult to let go of. We're indulging. Yeah. Once you've started on that cream cake, it's difficult until you get sick of it. It's the same with indulging in our emotions. They're difficult to let go of once we've got into the story. Does that help, Angela? You can just nod if you want to. Yeah. So I just want to say a little bit about the three pillars of teaching. I don't tend to like lists, but I haven't found a better way of doing this. I call them three pillars anyway, of teaching. And the first one is simplicity. Do our best to keep teaching simple. The second one is elegance. I really like this one because elegance for me is like one of my teachers used to talk about it in a way of an elegant woman knows not what to wear, which I thought was an interesting way of putting it. An elegant room, if you have an elegant room, you know what not to put in it. We have to leave things out. Otherwise, we just cram it. Are you with me, Rosella? Yeah? If you need me to repeat myself.
Hi, Josta here.
Josta.
Hello. Can I ask a question or shall I? Yeah. I've been toying with this for the last week. Had some discussions with some fellow teachers as well. And the thing is, I would really love to do more with the simplicity and the elegance, with the leaving things out. But at the same time, I'm thinking it almost feels like I'm experimenting on my students because I feel that there's a bit of fear of leaving too much out and not giving them the education that they might need to get it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, mindfulness is not an education. It's not educational. I'm not saying that we don't give them information. Mindfulness is transformational. Okay?
Yeah.
Whilst we're having, you can leave your mic on if you want to whilst we're just doing this. But how do we? Okay, so you want somebody to taste an apple. Do you want to tell them all about it?
Well, a bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is an apple. I got it from Tesco. It's from Israel originally. You might say something about it, but what do you want them to do with it?
Eat it.
Yeah, taste it.
Taste it. Yeah.
So, what do we want our students to do? We want them to get a feel for, a taste of mindfulness. Now, some information is essential.
Yeah.
But say the word fire and see if it burns your mouth.
Fire. Oh!
The word apple doesn't taste like an apple.
No.
So what we're doing, Jost, is moving beyond the information. This is the information. It's pointing beyond itself to an experience of it. So what you do is you give them some information which leads them into an experience of mindfulness. And you don't need much information.
No. No, I do get that too much information has a completely counterproductive effect, of course.
Yeah. And I'm not saying no information either.
No.
And what's elegant for me might not be elegant for you.
Okay.
I'm just asking you to sort of, I'm suggesting take this into your teaching and see, elegance is beauty. There's something beautiful about an elegant room, an elegant woman, an elegant man. There's something beautiful and like an elegant vase, not too busy, not too fussy, not too, yeah. Because you can get lost in all the detail. And I think it takes courage, actually, not to give too much information. Because we're information junkies.
Yes.
So when you plant seeds, you have a seed. When you plant seeds, you put a seed in, and then you leave a centimetre or a few centimetres. Then you put another one in, then another one. You don't put them all in together. You leave. So when you give a teaching or an idea in, I like to just give a little bit of room for it to be absorbed. About 8 years ago, I went on. I was wondering what the secular mindfulness world was like, and I went on a. Okay, I'll come back to that. I went on a secular mindfulness course, and I'm not going to mention the teacher. It's not fair. I don't need to. But I went along, and I mean, some of it was spot on, but there's so much of it. I remember on a morning retreat, I was getting up out of a posture, and before I'd finished getting up out of the posture, okay, next. And I'm thinking, I haven't finished this yet. So all I'm saying is just think about leaving some space, leaving some pauses, making it elegant in my terminology. Does that help, Josta?
It helps, and I can definitely sense it, because usually the more information I give, it is to mask my own insecurity of looking like a fool.
Yeah.
Especially in the corporate world, you need to talk a lot, because then you're knowledgeable. But actually, I've noticed this with my teachers. The more embodiment there is, the more I learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in the corporate world, Josta, I teach sometimes in the corporate world myself. I will have pauses. And if, first of all, they're a bit, but invariably they come round.
Yeah.
Because they're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
I might give them a bit more info. It depends on the mood and the feel of the group.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
There's a question, how much information do you give during a first session with students? I know that's difficult to say. It is, because just wanted to open up a discussion about it. Yeah. Well, I'll give as much information as I think is needed. And I will say to them early on that you might leave here with more questions than answers. And to take them home with them. What does it feel like to have a question that doesn't get answered? That's part of our practice. What's it like to have a question that isn't going to get a response right now because they're on their way home? Let me look at the question again. And also on this, related to Josta's question and Michelle's about the first session, part of elegance for me is not using too much technical language. We need to have some technical language, but using metaphors. You can cut through 1,000 words with a metaphor. And it doesn't matter who you are, corporate, people like metaphors. I mean, there's the odd person who doesn't get them, but hey, this is, life's difficult. The odd person won't get them, and well, there you go. stories, images. I think they really bring it alive. I may say to the students on the first week that you might have, normally you pay money and you get something in return and you leave with something, you leave the shop with something. But hopefully on this course, and you will leave with less than what you came with. Less anxiety, less stress, less, yeah. So you're sort of, you're not giving people stuff particularly. You're letting them shed things, shed ideas that are not helpful. That's why I think we need to be able to challenge students. Someone says something in the group that is obviously sort of a bit off, and I think it's our place to challenge it, because the role of compassion, my teacher used to say, the only role of compassion, of the discussion, is to relieve people of their suffering. And that is, a lot of the suffering comes because we have confused ideas about ourselves. He says he called it a duty as teachers, as practitioners, as teachers. Does that help, Michelle, at all? We can't say quantity because we're all different as well. I don't want people teaching like I do, and I don't want to teach like other people do. I'm just throwing things out here. People learn in those in-between moments when they're left with some. They've used images and stories. There's one of my books with lots of stories, just lots of stories and anecdotes. There is Anthony DeMello, great teacher. Stories. Ajahn Brahm, who ordered this truckload of dung. Stories. Andrew, I found participants are doing more practice, but they are doing it at night and falling asleep. Should we encourage this? We'll come to the next one, Josta. Practice, but we are doing it at night. Well, early on, I suggest people find a time when they're not tired. Normally, the morning is best for most people. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they are responsible. And if we meditate at night, the chances are we will fall asleep. And Josta, it's so simple. I wonder why I make it so difficult. Don't know. I think we try to do too much. We try to do it for our students. Leave them wanting more, not less. I think we treat our students as like baby birds, shoving it down, shoving information down. And we don't need to. Leave them wanting more, leave them a little bit hungry. I know it's not, in our culture, it's like more, more, more. Everything is more. I don't like it. I don't like that attitude. I think it's not helpful for people. Teach from the heart. You can't go wrong. You've got to teach from here. Eventually, you start teaching. Yeah, you start teaching from the heart, from your intuition, teaching intuitively. That's where we move towards. Start to teach intuitively. So the intuitive answer might be just to keep quiet. The best response might be just a raised eyebrow. Might be. So you're not always giving people information. In words. Okay, so I just want to go into this question. I was asked about direct questions, but she didn't have one there and then. But then this woman wrote back. I go a student. I go to these groups where we visualize stuff like angels, and I get really, really relaxed, and I find it really easy. When I do mindfulness, I find it really hard to stay with it. Are some people just better at one kind of meditation than another? Like people have different learning styles. So now this is the teacher. I ended up explaining that what we are doing involves simply noticing what is there and not visualizing or relaxing in any way, she was describing. I commented that she seemed to be bringing an expectation from something else to the mindfulness, and to be curious if she noticed that during the meditation, and I couldn't say whether the mindfulness would start to suit her in a similar way. She would need to stay alert to see if the mindfulness becomes as easy for her as the visualizations. First of all, I think it's early on, or it might come up at some point, I go into the difference between relaxation and mindfulness with a metaphor. And I think it's good, like metaphors, like those old warriors used to have bags of arrows. And when they needed it, just pulled it out. Metaphors, they're really useful. You pull them out and you use them. And it normally quietens people. A metaphor. So the one that I tend to use is it's a hot day, and I tend to cut it short, and you come across two pools of water. Both of these pools of water are actually a bit odd because they're ringed by rubbish. Like some pools of water have rubbish around the outside when they're neglected. So you go to pool A and you stand at the side and you jump over the rubbish into the water, and you have a nice time. You feel refreshed. You get out, you feel refreshed and alive and cool for a while. Nothing wrong with that. That represents one approach to meditation. Another approach to meditation, you get to the pool B and you bend down and you take some of the rubbish in with you. Okay? And the water cleans it up, it purifies it. You realize it's not rubbish, it's something of value. But anyway, after a while, which pool would you rather swim in? Pool B. Why? Because it's clean. It's been cleaned up by taking the rubbish in, it cleans it up. So pool A represents an approach to practice where we just want to feel calm, want to avoid the rubbish. So I feel sad, so let's just avoid it. I feel angry, let's just avoid it. I feel frustrated, resentful. I'm not sure, I just feel odd and low. Just meditate to get out of it. That's pool A, but the pool remains, the rubbish remains. In the long term, it doesn't make any difference, or very little. Pool B, we take the rubbish in with us. And this is where the three pillars come in: honesty and curiosity. I'm curious about what's going on and I'm honest. That's what cleans the pool up. What, in our actual experience, what cleans up the pool, the rubbish in the pool, is actually to experience what's actually here. So we feel the sadness, we feel the joy, the delight, the ease, the resentment, the feeling low. We actually experience it. That's what releases it. That's what cleans it up. Now, most people, almost everybody, comes to mindfulness with the idea that it's about pool A. And very early on, we don't stop them doing nothing wrong with, but we are introducing pool B. So they work together, they overlap. If they stay in pool A, nothing much really changes in the long term. And the technique will stop working probably after a while. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a relaxation technique. You might listen to music, watch TV, go for walks. That's all well and good and whatever. I'm not saying don't do it, but don't mistake that for mindfulness practice. They overlap. The change comes from pool B. So that's it's for me. Our work is to introduce pool B because they want pool A. That's why they come. But we're saying, look, this pool B is what makes the difference, even though it doesn't always feel very nice. And then you might, there's the other metaphor of medicine. Sometimes you have to take medicine that doesn't taste very nice, which is good for us. But at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for what they do. I do my best, and that's all I can do. Is that helpful at all?
Surya,
Yeah.
I'm Rosella.
Go for it.
Could I ask something? I'm curious because I think that there is nothing wrong when you live sadness, for example, and have the desire to be well.
Yeah, sure.
Notice I live this situation, and with compassion, I hope to close to this sensation.
Mm.
I think that it's okay.
Mm.
It's important to recognize,
Mm-hmm.
to live, but not to stay in this situation.
Well, in the sadness.
Or in pain, or in wellness, everything.
Well, of course, we have to do what we do, don't we? If if we're doing something that makes us feel bad, then stop doing it. Yeah, we do what we can. But I think we all have what we call unacknowledged sadness. And we don't know what to do with it. We're not taught what to do with it. They don't teach you what to do with it at school. What do I do with this? Yeah, get over it. Get your act together. Put a smile on your face. See, sadness is the seed of compassion. If we don't have the capacity to feel sad, we don't have the capacity to feel empathy for another person, because it connects. Sadness is there's a real tenderness to it. If it's not too heavy, there's a real tenderness there, and it connects us with other people. If I feel sad and I can be honest and acknowledge that, I know that other people feel sad. It's a connector. But we have a view that, if I let this in, it'll last forever. It doesn't. It will last forever if you don't. So that's Pooh B, is allowing ourselves to feel sad without the story of sad. That's what releases it. Awareness releases, when we feel something in the body, it begins to release it. That's what happens. Well, people don't come along for that at first. Well, don't want that. But that's what heals our life. To heal our life, we have to experience it. Is there anything else on that? Any questions, thoughts? Does that make sense, the two pools? Because I think something early on like that sort of can clear things up for some people. Okay, good. Would it be of any interest to talk about the difference between mindfulness and concentration? An example of we had a teacher from, I think she's from Portugal, teaching with me in a course, doing some training, and she was guiding people through some mindful walking in the garden. and she was very focused and walking, head down, walking, very mindful. Then she bumped her head on a bird feeder. Now, it's great because she made it into a teaching. This is not a criticism, because we all do it. We all bump our heads. Nobody's mindful in that way. But it's just a good example. Yes, I know. I got that, Michelle. Okay. I'll come back to your question, Michelle. So the difference that she was concentrated. Concentration is a focusing down or one-pointed on an object, which we need to sometimes. If you're doing some intricate work, you need to focus. Fine. But what mindfulness is, or rather, let me look at it. Concentration is a facet of the jewel of mindfulness. If mindfulness is the jewel, concentration is just one facet, an important one, but it's not the whole of it. It's not a closing down of our experience, of our attention. That's concentration. Mindfulness is open. It's the senses. There are times when we need to focus down. We need to focus on one thing. So it's good to know the difference. I think we might teach mindfulness, but I think most of us practice concentration. Almost like we're training the mind. Get in there, get it. Get focused on, and we do it from here. I'm focused on my breath from here. It isn't. It's much more open and relaxed than that. It's feeling the body with the body. So a lot of us do the practice from up here. I'm definitely going to use the pool metaphor. If we know someone who has a diagnosis of depression, do we give them the choice to do mindfulness? Well, first of all, it depends who it is and how depressed they are, I think. And maybe they need some one-to-one help. Not always, but maybe. I think it depends on the individual. But they realise now that therapy and whatever, if it hasn't got that, if it's not done with awareness, it doesn't work. If we don't know what's going on, nothing's going to work. It's very basic. It's like if you don't have soil, you're not going to grow any plants. Awareness is the soil. It's the earth. It's the ground by which the whole thing comes out of. So I would always offer them. I tend to take most people. I tend not to turn people away, and it seems to work okay. Mindfulness is connection with everything around you. We cannot decide what all around you. Yeah, concentration is a choice. Yeah, we have to choose to. Yeah, mindfulness is this open. Could call it open awareness. You don't know what's going to come our way. There used to be, I don't know how true it is, but there used to be a Zen teacher who used to have meditation interviews during the meditations. And when it was your turn, used to get tapped on the shoulder by the previous person, and you had to get up and you had to run to his room because you're awake. Mindfulness is being awake, not like, oh, where am I? Yeah, that's something else. I don't know what that is. We don't disappear somewhere. It's actually being more here than we were previously. So just to go back to this question, there's nothing wrong with visualizing angels and all that stuff if that's your thing, but just don't confuse it with, that's the first pool. There's nothing wrong with the first pool, it's just don't confuse it. Let's have a look, see what we've got here. Yeah, everybody will get sent the recording in case you, some people's broadband goes in and out. Is there anything else?
Another question from me, and I don't know if it fits into simplicity, elegance, or the practical part, but so John Kabat-Zinn's original meditations are 45 minutes each. And by now we have a great variety of lengths that are being offered by mindfulness teachers. Do you have any, so what is your view on the length of meditations?
I tend to start off with 10, 15 minutes and maybe move it to 20 minutes. I think 40 minutes is too long for most people nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think it can put people off. Maybe 30 years ago, I mean, when I was in the Buddhist communities, and it'd be 50 minutes and you didn't move. It was that, but I don't think that needs to be.
No.
I prefer the principles behind rather than sticking rigid to the practice. It's how we do the practice. So I will start off with 10 minutes. After a few weeks, I might ask people to sit for 15, up to 20. And some people do it 20 minutes twice a day. Not everybody. That's how I started, actually, 20 minutes twice a day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I prefer short. I think it puts people off.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It scares them, it puts them off. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, they were looking at their watches or, Yeah. Yeah. It's agreement from Michelle. Yeah.
And what about if, because I've had people that would say in week 5, I just really prefer the body scan, so I decided to stick with the body scan. How do you react to that?
It doesn't matter what you prefer.
I usually slap them, but I don't think that's the best option.
Get your Zen stick out. Get my Zen stick out. Yeah, well, it's like, again, a metaphor of medicine. Just because it doesn't feel very good, it doesn't mean it's not good for us. Now, you wouldn't ask them to do what they don't like all the time, but it's good to know, why don't you like the mindfulness? Tell me about the mindfulness of breathing. What don't you like about it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a great question. I'm always a bit afraid because I'm such an open book
Mm.
that my judgment will pour through it.
Yeah, yeah. They're really thinking you bloody idiot. Oh, stop it. I know what you mean, but yeah, yeah, I think it's great to be an open book and then to get really, yeah, get the arrows out and you touch people and challenge people and then you're open again. It's all done with kindness, and most people know. Well, had one person ever had a problem with the way it's done? Yeah, so just to Josta mentioned it, the third pillar is practical, keeping teaching practical for our real life, our relationships. So I just want to go back to this question. When I do mine, I find it hard to stay with it. Are some people just better at one type of meditation than another? But meditation doesn't suit me. See, really, it's about whether somebody's drawn to this. Are they drawn by the first pool? Is the pull so strong for the first pool they won't continue with this? But the draw may be the first pull, but have they got the courage and the wherewithal to realize that it's something else as well? And it's not about whether it suits us. It's whether we are drawn to it. Whether there's the third pillar, are we willing? Is there a willingness in me to get to know myself? And it's not something you can put into somebody. You can't. I think you might be able to infect somebody with this with a curiosity for their life, and to put it in a way that this is one of the best things you'll do for yourself. I say to them, it's the best single thing I've ever done for myself is to start this, to do this. I'm not shy of saying that, and some people it lands with, and some people, well, it doesn't. Just one other thing before we start to bring it to an end, guys, is that how we set things up. You might be feeding into that first pool mentality. So, for example, at the end of a meditation, I'll never ask people how they're feeling. How do you feel now? It's just they're getting, oh, I should feel different. It's not about how we feel. What did you observe? What did you notice? What did you do when you felt that happen? What was your response to this? Anything else? So I suggest, guys, that think you can use any metaphors from what I use or somebody else, but you can also come up with your own. Mindfulness is like, a flower opening or a fist or whatever. Mindfulness is like, and just allow your own and observations from your daily life. People like them. I use my dogs sometimes. I use the one about nexting, about the woman who was texting in the street. So you use your everyday experiences to share with people. Anything? Are we done? Okay. Thanks, guys. I will send you all the recording anyway, in case you want to, if there's anything you want to. Thanks for the great questions. Brilliant. The contributions. You're welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
And, thank you.
Thank you, Surya.
Thank you. We'll see you soon, Rosella, won't we?
In a week, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yes, we will.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Well, I wish I was going to Italy. Rosella's coming here.
Oh, yeah.
I prefer it the other way around.
Have 2 words. 2 words.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.